MHADA is now focusing on redevelopment, so BDD Chal, Kamathipura, and there are approximately 114 layouts. Can you share your journey and how you will see this become a role model and a success?
Good afternoon, Sanjay, and good afternoon to all the delegates present here. You see, MHADA has a very big role as far as redevelopment of Mumbai is concerned. And at the outset, obviously, everyone is aware, but just for the sake of knowledge of those, there are two categories of redevelopment that is primarily taken up through MHADA. One is in the 114 layouts that we have, which is governed primarily by 33(5).
Ji.
And the second is pertaining to the CES buildings, which is in the island city, which is governed under 33(7) if it comes under an individual proposal. And if it is under a cluster, it is under 33(9). Now, as rightly pointed out by Paragji, that initially the focus of redevelopment in Mumbai as far as through MHADA is concerned, even from the developer's point perspective and even from the government's approach, was very individualistic building oriented. So he mentioned an example that in Pantnagar, you have had so many redevelopment, but you don't see these civic amenities as desired considering the size of the layout. So in the last 2-3 years, there has been a paradigm shift as far as the priorities of the government is concerned regarding planning. And government is now encouraging more of cluster redevelopment to come through. As a part of it, if I were to just give examples, BDD is one classic example where it was stuck up for many years and then adopting a clustered approach, and that to approach in which MHADA came in as a developer itself rather than appointing developers.
Ji.
I'm happy to say that the phase 1 of the project as far as Worli is concerned, Naigaon is concerned or NM Joshi is concerned has taken off, and roughly 6,000 odd houses are being constructed.
That's incredible actually. Very well done. Very well.
Second aspect is obviously, like the other cluster projects which the government is trying to encourage is, as you mentioned, Kamathipura. Now Kamathipura, for over the years, the vision was there, but how to go about it was not decided. Recently, the cabinet took a decision saying that Kamathipura should be redeveloped as a cluster project under 33(9). And what's more important is that MHADA was declared as the special planning authority for that. Now, as I speak, we are almost at the final stage of all approvals and the clearances that was needed. And hopefully by the next week, the RFP or the tender of this for an open bid shall be published as far as Kamathipura is concerned. Third in the pipeline is, like projects like Abhyuday Nagar, where the tender has already been almost at the final stage. Or if I talk about Motilal Nagar, or I talk about, 2 other proposals which are in the pipeline is like your Bandra reclamation or Abhyuday Nagar, Adarsh Nagar in Worli. And not to forget about the GTB Nagar that is in Chembur. So these are some of the big clusters that is intended to take up as far as 33(5). And under 33(7), there is a shift which I see personally that now most of the developers are going in for redevelopment by taking the adjoining either CES buildings or non-CES buildings in the entire proposal. So that will definitely lead to a big impetus as far as redevelopment of CES buildings and non-CES buildings in the MHADA layout is concerned. So I see a good future. And the second aspect is, this is also going to lead to a very high supply of housing in the open market, because once this is redeveloped and the rehab is done, then definitely the free sale component will again be governed by the market of competition and, like a cost check. And this later on, I would elaborate upon it, that would also have an impact as far as the affordability index of housing is concerned, as far as Mumbai is concerned. That, just to continue from the fact that being a landlocked city, so ultimately, Mumbai was the commercial capital and shall always remain the commercial capital. And yesterday, one of the event, even the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Shri Devendra Fadnavis ji, he rightly mentioned that, this whole concept of the DP planning that we have, especially in terms of your zoning of lands and what is permissible and non-permissible. And then again, there's a lot of, I would say a lot of activism that takes place when any of these so-called non-yellow zone lands are converted either into residential or commercial zoning part. So I don't blame that, because obviously that's a factor which one has to also take care of the concerns of the environment for that. To give a classic example, the salt pan issue which has come up right now. So ultimately, if such lands which are not developable, what we tend to see is that slums do come across there, and after a few years it gets encroached, and then any government of the day is ultimately under a lot of pressure to get it regularized or give them titles or rights on that part is concerned. So that is one aspect which I feel is a concern as far as Mumbai is concerned. So Mumbai ultimately, as I said, that Atal Setu, and even in the recent years, if you see the periphery cities or the towns, like whether it is Thane, Bhiwandi, Kalyan, or even to that extent Navi Mumbai, they're all expanding as a center of growth.
Sure.
But yes, more of commercial units and more of commercial, apartments or, I would say fully dedicated buildings should come across in Mumbai. As far as MHADA is concerned, I can say to this house that, in BDD itself, one of the biggest commercial space will be coming up for open bid very soon. And the same is planned for the other layouts that I mentioned of.
Sure.
But to an extent, and on a very top priority, we also have to see that the reverse migration as far as the jobs in Mumbai is concerned, how it is checked and how we can create more revenues. And the last point in this is that you see when we talk about Mumbai, Mumbai is a catalyst for attracting people not only in the white collar jobs, but also for the downtrodden and people who just don't have a job. People just walk in Mumbai saying that kuch na kuch to kaam yahan milega hi.
Mil jayega.
So it is these people, who ultimately, the rich people, I would always say that theek hai, ek apartment hai, usko thoda sa dur jayega, he'll get a cheaper apartment. But for the poor people, that is where the government's responsibility comes to see to it that the affordable housing is provided.
And they support the economy as well. These people are needed to support the economy.
Definitely.
Yeah.